The gaming scene looks pretty different between China and the US, but both are seeing an increase in indie game design, with increasingly abstract and artistic concepts. We'll be speaking with 3 game designers with experience in both mainstream and indie game design and gaming in both countries, who will guide us through the scene.
Traditionally, the model in the West is a retail market where publishers work with developers to manufacture games on physical media. The Chinese game industry is much younger than it is in the West. Historically, the only way that games survive, like financially, in China is through online models, like subscription-based, massively multiplayer online games or microtransaction-based games where people would pay like in small increments for in-game content and that sort of thing. And mostly in the context of internet cafes.
Brian Ma is a game designer with experience producing outsourced games for American companies in China, as well as localizing international games and creating games specifically for the Chinese market. He also curated an exhibition of Chinese indie arcade games at Baby Castles in March 2014.
There is a rising indie community over there. There are some small studios in China that use the Western channels to self-publish, like the App Store especially. But that means that they're basically publishing for audience outside of China. In terms of being a viable indie, those channels have still not really presented themselves.
Atlas Chen and Nick Zhang, who were featured at Baby Castles last year, are graduates of NYU in video game design. They are part of a 5-member game design team currently developing the abstract indie game Gemini, which was selected by the NYU Game Center Incubator last year, while also having been selected as a finalist in Indiecade and the Independent Game Festival Student Showcase.
So Gemini is a game about 2 stars flying in tandem to the skies, kind of a poetic video game that is meant to be metaphorical. An important part of this game is actually exploration. We have no words in this game to tell you what to do and how to play this game, and even don't tell you what is the codes. You just figure it out by yourself by just playing it.
You are controlling the bigger stuff. At the beginning, it's like we're just trying to make a game that make you have a connection with a non-player character. And after a while, we also want to tell a story beyond that.
Gemini is an example of the abstract artistic direction that indie game design is taking in both the US and in China. While the indie scene in China still has a long way to go, Atlas and Nick are demonstrating the changing interests of Chinese gamers and game designers.
Games can be a space for players to explore the ideas I have. And it is different from other media that I tell you a message and you read it. It is that I create a space and you play and explore and you can get what you get. And that is something I feel really intriguing to me, because the most important thing in my life is that I would like to explore life and meanings, and I would love to share those to people. And games to me is a really good way to do this.
Playing games for me is like pursuing different experience. When I was a child, I play a lot of like Chinese traditional RPG games. It's like makes me feel like I go back to like ancient China. I think for now, the game I want to make is like a game for people from different background, different culture, different age.
As Chinese gamers become more and more sophisticated and interested in sort of international games consumption, there are more and more people who want to not only buy pirated games or only play games at internet cafes.
I think a lot of people like don't realize that there's this kind of like indie game, artistic game there. And then most game that I play in is like very traditional genre, like RPGs and actions and shooters. But the indie scene is also like rising in China. I'm gonna say that for the indie scene, like China is gonna be more and more like similar to US. I believe like games is gonna be more diverse, and then there's gonna be more like artistic games coming.
And that's the traditional one where the landing is found.
Big open there.
这个不是。